He broke your heart. But what he didn't know is he just handed you the blueprint for your breakthrough. You're sitting there rereading old messages, scrolling through memories, wondering how someone who once held your face like it was fragile glass could now ghost you like you never existed. But listen to me. This is not where your story ends. It's where your power begins. Right now, you're standing at a crossroads. One road leads to overthinking, late night tears and checking if he watched your story. The other road, it's colder, it's quieter, but it leads to something way more powerful, your evolution. In this video, I'm not here to tell you to just move on or love yourself more. You've heard that 1,000 times, and let's be honest, it doesn't hit when your heart is in pieces. I'm here to flip the narrative, not to feed your ego, but to help you understand how his ego is fragile too. When you pull back your energy, when you stop giving him access to your softness, that's when you truly take the throne. So let's shift gears. This video is your wake-up call. Your soft era is over. Your silent power era just started. Grab your crown, queen, because by the end of this video, he won't just regret breaking your heart. He'll question why he ever thought you needed him. Let's get into it. Have you ever wondered why, even after everything he did, after the lies, the cold distance, or even the final goodbye, you still feel so attached? Like no matter how much your brain knows it's over, your heart keeps reaching back for just one more message, one more moment, one more sign. That's not weakness. That's not desperation. That's conditioning. When we bond with someone, especially in a relationship where we gave more than we received, our nervous system starts to associate their presence with safety, even if they were inconsistent, even if they hurt us, even if deep down, we knew they weren't right for us. Your attachment isn't just emotional, it's chemical. Every time he gave you attention, a compliment or a moment of affection, your brain released dopamine, the feel-good chemical. But when that affection was taken away suddenly, or used as a tool to manipulate, your body went into a kind of withdrawal. And just like any addiction, your mind tells you the only way to feel better is to get more of what hurt you. That's the trap. That's the cycle. And it's not love, it's trauma bonding. Now here's the shift. The way to break it isn't to fight your feelings, it's to understand them. When you realize your attachment is rooted in patterns, not passion, you stop blaming yourself for caring and start retraining your brain to care about you. And that starts with silence. Not to punish him, but to detox from him. Every time you don't check his socials, every time you don't respond, every time you choose a boundary over a breadcrumb, you're rewiring your self-worth. The truth is, the version of you that's obsessed with closure, with answers, with trying to fix what he broke, that version isn't you. It's the version he created to stay in control. But the real you, the one underneath the pain, she's powerful, she's clear, and she knows love doesn't feel like confusion. Breaking the cycle means reminding yourself that attention is not affection, that presence is not proof of love, and that you don't need someone who only shows up when it's convenient for them. It's going to hurt, yes, it's going to feel unnatural at first, but you are not healing to get him back. You're healing to get you back. The moment you stop chasing clarity from someone who lives in chaos is the moment you finally find peace. So breathe, sit with the discomfort, and remember this, the person you become on the other side of this heartbreak will never settle for half love again. And that is how you break the cycle. Here's the truth, most people won't tell you. When he walked away, it wasn't because he didn't care at all. It was because he thought you'd still be there if he ever decided to come back. That's ego. And for a lot of men, ego speaks louder than emotion. You might be sitting there thinking he moved on, unbothered, maybe even happy without you. But what you're seeing on the surface is a performance. And it's not for you, it's for his ego. Because the male ego doesn't like to feel replaced, rejected, or forgotten. So when you stop calling, when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop begging for clarity, he notices, even if he doesn't show it. Let's be real. At first, he might feel powerful, confident in the fact that he was the one who ended it. He thinks he's still in control. Why? Because for so long, he had access to your energy, your kindness, your forgiveness, your ability to love hard and heal fast. And when a man is used to being emotionally fed by you, he doesn't expect the supply to just end. But here's the part he doesn't see coming. Silence is louder than closure. And when you go silent, not out of spite, but out of self-respect, his ego starts asking questions. Why isn't she chasing me? Has she found someone better? Did I just lose something rare? And trust me, the moment he realizes he's not the center of your world anymore, he'll feel that shift, because his ego was never expecting you to actually walk away. He was expecting you to wait, to hold space, to hope. But when a woman stops hoping, she becomes dangerous. Not because she wants revenge, but because she becomes completely unavailable to anything that doesn't honor her worth. The male ego is fragile, but it's also stubborn. So he might act unbothered. He might post, flirt, pretend he's thriving. But behind that is a quiet insecurity, a creeping curiosity, and sometimes deep regret. Because now he's not thinking about why he left. He's wondering how he lost you. And that confusion eats away at his sense of control. This is why your response matters more than your reaction. When you don't fall apart in front of him, when you don't try to prove your value, he's forced to question his judgment, not because you begged for validation, but because you gave him nothing to feed his ego anymore. Let him wonder. Let him sit in that silence. Because when you detach with grace, you don't just protect your heart, you dismantle the fantasy he had of always having access to you. And that is when the power shifts. Silence. The most underestimated power move in the entire breakup game. When a man walks away or pushes you away thinking you'll chase, your silence becomes the one thing he never expected and everything his ego fears. Let's get this straight. Going silent isn't about playing games. It's not about pretending to be cold or uncaring. It's about making a decision that your peace matters more than proving your point. Because the second you stop explaining yourself, stop defending your worth, stop trying to fix something he broke, you take your power back. Most women feel like they need to speak to be heard. But the truth is, nothing echoes louder than absence. When you go silent, when your energy disappears from his life, it creates a vacuum. And that silence starts to haunt him in ways your words never could. Why? Because men expect noise after a breakup. They expect questions, tears, closure talks, second chances. They expect access. They expect emotion. And when they don't get it, when you suddenly become unavailable, unreachable, uninterested, it disorients them. He might not see it. He might still post selfies or go out with friends like nothing happened. But behind that performance is a quiet unraveling. Because silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's the absence of certainty. And a man who thought he had you wrapped around his finger is not ready for uncertainty. At first, he'll play it cool. He'll wait. Maybe he'll check your stories, maybe not. But as the days go by, as your name doesn't pop up on his phone, as he realizes you're not watching his every move, he'll start to question everything. Did she move on? Is she talking to someone else? Why is she so calm? Was I not as important as I thought? That's when panic begins. Not dramatic, loud panic. Quiet, subtle panic. The kind that creeps in at night when the world gets still and there's no distraction. That's when he starts scrolling through your old messages, looking at your last photos, replaying your last words, wondering what changed. And here's the answer. You changed. You chose silence because you finally realized that begging someone to see your value is the fastest way to lose it. You realize that energy is currency, and you're no longer spending yours on someone who treated it like loose change. Silence isn't weakness. It's emotional discipline. It says, I don't need to react because I already decided what I deserve. And sure, he might test the waters eventually. A random hey text, a meme, a song he knows reminds you of him. He's not doing it because he suddenly grew up. He's doing it because your silence made him realize he's no longer the main character in your story. The moment you go silent, stop feeding his ego. And when the ego starves, it starts to flinch. It starts to chase. Not because he's in love, but because he's confused. And confusion is powerful, especially when he was so sure you'd still be there. So here's your job. Stay silent, not to manipulate, but to heal. Not to win him back, but to win yourself back. Because the more peace you protect, the more chaos you create in him. And that, Queen, is how silence speaks louder than every word you ever wanted to scream. There's a moment in every heartbreak where something shifts. You cry, you overthink, You analyze every text, every look, every detail. And then one day, you wake up and the tears feel a little heavier than the person who caused them. That's the moment you're ready to glow up. Not for revenge, not to show him what he lost, but because you finally remember who the hell you are. The glow up isn't just physical, it's spiritual, emotional, mental. It's the decision to stop letting someone who couldn't love you properly define your worth. It's the moment you stop checking his profile and start checking your posture. The moment you stop scrolling through old photos and start scrolling through your own goals. The way you speak starts to change. You stop saying things like, I hope he realizes what he lost, and start saying, I'm proud of who I'm becoming. Your glow up is in the way you carry yourself, in the boundaries you protect, in the way you now understand that not everyone deserves access to the most beautiful parts of you. And don't get it twisted. There will be days you miss him, days where the old version of you creeps in and asks, what if I had done something differently? That's normal. That's human. But the glow up is choosing not to answer that voice. It's saying, even if I miss the memories, I don't miss the confusion. I don't miss feeling small. Because every time you look back, you slow down your growth. Every time you wonder what he's doing, who he's with, whether he still thinks about you, you're handing pieces of your power to someone who already proved they didn't know what to do with it. The most powerful glow up is the one you do in silence. You don't announce it. You don't post it for validation. You just become undeniable. Your confidence, your peace, your light, those are things no one can fake. And eventually that version of you becomes so radiant, so solid, so magnetic, that even if he ever tries to come back, you won't even want him anymore, because your taste evolves with your self-worth. And the woman you're becoming, she doesn't settle for half effort, half love, or half attention. She's not bitter. She's not angry. She's just busy. Busy building, healing, living. She's too focused on her future to mourn the past. And that quiet, focused, unapologetic energy, that's the true glow up. So don't look back. There's nothing there for you. Let him sit with his decisions. Let him scroll your page in silence. Let him wonder if he ever crossed your mind. Meanwhile, you'll be out here thriving, glowing, and evolving so far beyond who you were. Even you won't recognize yourself. And that, queen, is how you glow up without ever needing to look back. Let's talk about boundaries. The real kind. Not the ones you write in your notes app and ignore when your heart gets soft. Not the ones you whisper to yourself after crying on the bathroom floor. Unbreakable boundaries. The kind that protect your peace like your life depends on it. Because it does. When he broke your heart, he didn't just hurt your feelings. He tested your limits. He showed you what happens when you let someone take more from you than they're willing to give. That moment, whether you knew it or not, was your invitation to set a new standard. Boundaries aren't about being cold. They're not about punishing anyone. They're about respect. They say, I love myself too much to keep teaching you how to mishandle me. And here's the truth. If you don't set the standard, someone else will. And usually, they'll set it lower than you deserve. That's why your boundaries can't be vague. They can't be suggestions. They have to be clear, consistent, and unapologetic. No more giving access to people who drain you. No more replying to I miss you texts when all he ever did was make you question your worth. No more maybe we can still be friends when what you really need is space to heal. Unbreakable boundaries look like this. You block numbers that only call you when they're lonely. You leave messages on read when they don't respect your silence. You say no without guilt. You don't explain why you're choosing peace over chaos. You simply choose it, and that's enough. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to being the one who forgives quickly, who gives chances, who sees the best in people, even when they're giving you the worst. But growth begins where comfort ends, and real healing requires you to protect yourself from the people who keep reopening your wounds. The reason boundaries feel so hard is because part of you still wants to be chosen. You think if you keep the door cracked, maybe he'll come back different. Maybe he'll finally get it. But the truth is, if someone only respects you when they lose you, they never really respected you at all. Your boundary is the filter that separates what serves you from what sabotages you. And when you enforce it, you teach the world how to treat you, not through words, but through action. The moment he realizes that access to you is no longer guaranteed, is the moment your power becomes real. Not because you're being petty, not because you want revenge, but because you finally see that your peace is not up for negotiation. So let him wonder, let him test the boundary and watch it hold. Let him send that late night text and leave it unanswered. Let him circle back and find out the gate is locked, because you're not building a wall, you're building a life. One where love feels safe. One where you don't have to beg to be respected. One where you get to be soft because your boundaries are strong. And that's the shift. You're no longer available for bare minimum. You're no longer accessible to people who only show up when it's easy. You're not healing just to go back to what broke you. So write it, speak it, enforce it. Your boundary isn't rude, it's revolutionary. And when it becomes unbreakable, so do you. There comes a moment after the crying, after the silence, after setting those boundaries, when something inside you starts to shift. It's subtle at first. You stand a little taller. You speak with a little more clarity. You stop second-guessing your worth. That's not a coincidence. That's the return of your queen energy. Queen energy is not about arrogance. It's not about being better than anyone else. It's about knowing you were never less. It's about stepping back into your power with grace, strength, and absolute certainty that you are always enough, even when he didn't see it, and rebuilding that energy. It starts the moment you stop chasing closure and start giving yourself confirmation. You don't need someone else to say you're valuable. You don't need him to realize he lost something rare. That's not your responsibility anymore. Your only job now is to remember who the hell you are. Queen energy is rooted in self-respect. It's not reactive. It's not desperate. It doesn't argue for love. It attracts it naturally because it radiates from within. When you reclaim this part of you, you don't wait to be chosen. You choose yourself daily. And suddenly the bare minimum doesn't impress you. Mixed signals don't confuse you. You're not afraid to walk away from anything that costs you your peace. You see, the breakup didn't break you. It revealed you. It peeled back all the layers you were hiding behind just to keep the relationship alive. And now that he's gone, you're starting to see the version of you that was buried beneath all the overthinking, overgiving, and overcompromising. The queen doesn't beg. She doesn't prove. She doesn't plead. She doesn't need to scream her worth. It's already felt in the way she carries herself, speaks, and moves. Her glow isn't just physical. It's energetic. People feel it before she enters the room. And here's the truth. Queen energy doesn't mean you're never sad. It doesn't mean you don't still have healing to do. It means you own it. You don't run from your emotions. You feel them, honor them, and then rise from them. Because emotional maturity is sexy. Emotional accountability is powerful. And a woman who can sit in her pain without letting it define her, that's magnetic. So how do you rebuild this energy? You start showing up for yourself the way you used to show up for him. You invest in your mind, your body, your spirit. You keep your promises to yourself. You stop lowering your standards just to keep someone in your life. You no longer fear being alone because you've realized your own company is more than enough. You don't chase anymore. You attract, not because you're playing hard to get, but because your energy says, I know what I deserve, and I'm no longer entertaining anything less. You forgive, not to excuse him, but to free yourself. You release not because it didn't matter, but because you refuse to carry pain that isn't yours. And you rise, not for revenge, but for rebirth. This is queen energy, calm, confident, centered. She doesn't need closure. She's the closure. She doesn't need a crown to prove who she is. It's in her presence, in her boundaries, in her self-love. So rebuild, slowly and with intention. Reclaim the parts of you that felt lost. And when you finally step into that version of yourself fully, you'll never shrink again to fit into someone else's small idea of love. You are the prize. You are the peace. You are the queen. So you've done the work. You went silent. You set boundaries. You glowed up and you rebuilt your queen energy. And just like clockwork, here he comes. A text, a hey stranger, a voice note at 1 a.m. that says, I've been thinking about you. Maybe he says he's changed. Maybe he says he misses you. Maybe he doesn't say anything deep. He just shows up, hoping you'll fill in the blanks. And now you're sitting there wondering, what do I do if he comes back? Here's the truth, Queen. Him coming back is not the plot twist. It's the pattern. People come back to where they felt the most loved, the most supported, the most safe. But just because he returns doesn't mean he's ready. And it definitely doesn't mean you have to let him back in. The real question isn't what does he want? It's what do you want now that you've changed? You see, a healed woman doesn't just respond to familiar energy. She evaluates it. She doesn't get excited by someone's return. She observes their consistency. A man who's genuinely grown will come back differently. He won't just text you out of nowhere. He'll acknowledge the pain he caused. He won't breadcrumb you. He won't flirt around your boundaries. He'll respect your space. He'll ask what you need, not just offer what he's willing to give. But if he's coming back with the same old energy, hoping to pick up where things left off, it's your job to remember you're not the same woman anymore. You're not the girl who begged for clarity. You're not the girl who waited for change. You're not the girl who mistook attention for effort. You're the woman who built herself back up from the ground. And that version of you doesn't entertain low effort. And yes, it's tempting, because a part of you might still feel connected to him. You shared memories, moments, emotions. You might still wonder what if. But don't confuse chemistry with compatibility. Don't confuse history with a future. You've already seen what he's like when he has access to you. Ask yourself, did he protect that access or did he waste it? Your peace is not a revolving door. Just because someone finds the courage to knock again doesn't mean you're obligated to open up. So what do you do if he comes back? You pause. You reflect. You check in with the healed version of you. You ask, does this align with the woman I've become? And if it doesn't, you let it go with grace, with strength, and without guilt. Because the version of you who learned to live without him, that version doesn't need him to come back. And if he truly wants to be part of your life again, he'll have to meet you where you are now, not where he left you. You owe nothing to the past version of him, but you owe everything to the future version of you. You didn't go through all of this just to feel better for a moment. You didn't cry those tears. Question your worth. Sit in that silence and fight your way back to yourself, just to return to who you were before. This isn't just about healing. This is about evolution. Healing is important. It's where you stop the bleeding. It's where you learn to breathe again, to smile without forcing it, to sleep without overthinking. But evolution is where you grow wings. It's where you stop trying to get back to the old you and start becoming the woman you were always meant to be. You don't owe anyone the version of you they broke. You don't owe the world softness when you've earned your strength. And you definitely don't owe second chances to someone who only noticed your value once it was gone. This version of you, she's not bitter. She's boundaried. She's not cold. She's clear. She's not hard. She's healed. And that makes her powerful beyond measure. So as this chapter closes, remember this. You're not just surviving a breakup. You're stepping into your upgrade. The heartbreak was the trigger, not the end. It cracked you open, just wide enough for your real power to come pouring through. From now on, you don't chase, you attract. You don't settle, you select. You don't shrink, you rise. Your energy is expensive now, and only those who value it can afford access. You didn't just get over him. You outgrew the version of yourself that tolerated him. So don't just heal, evolve. Grow so deeply into your worth that going back becomes impossible. Live, love. Lead like a woman who remembers who she is. And never forget again. Because this isn't the end of your story. This is your rebirth.